We're all devastated right now, Bronco Nation. This is a point we never thought we would see with this school. A 3-4 start to the season when the toughest teams in the non-conference schedule still remain ahead of Boise State, Fresno State, Air Force, Wyoming, Utah State, who almost beat Fresno State. Boise State at this point is going to be lucky to get through this season 5-7. Don't even talk about bowl eligibility at this point. They're going to be lucky if they can get through the season 5-7. With 4-8, a strong possibility. A position Boise State has not been in since their second year in the FBS. I just don't know how to even begin videos like this anymore and to talk about this team in this context, because none of us have had to experience this in the modern FBS era of Boise State. There are probably some viewers watching who remember the days when Boise State was, the little school that you couldn't guarantee 9-10 plus win seasons. Some of those the people watching probably still remember the 97 season. But I was born in 96. I don't remember that season. Most Boise State fans, our memories of Boise State begin with them at a high level of success. And that's what we expect. And that's what you should expect of this team. We're not the FCS brand new FBS program anymore. We're Boise State. We're a team that, due to our work ethic, due to the incredible atmosphere that is created within the locker room and in the community of Boise that attracts incredible people, our kind of guys, and due to the marketing value of the blue turf, has a level of success potential unmatched by almost any other Group of 5 university. That's Boise State. The expectation is 10 plus wins. Expectation is a New Year's 6. Forget 10 wins. Fans are disappointed when you get to 10 wins. New Year's 6, or at least in the strong conversation on the cusp of top 25, in the top 25, in the discussion of a New Year's 6, that is the expectation for Boise State. And we are now sitting at 3-4 with a strong possibility that we will not even get to bowl eligibility. I'm going to try and break down this game. I'm going to go through offense, defense, special teams, look at how Boise State handled my 3 keys of the game. But it's a tough one. It's an incredibly tough one to review because this is a historic loss. Boise State's never lost to Colorado State. And for Boise State to lose the way that they did, we'll talk about that. It's traumatically shocking. It leaves you speechless. Like the fandom air has been knocked out of us. The air has been knocked out of the Boise State fandom. And we're still gasping for breath on the sideline. I mean, this is not a place that Boise State should ever have gotten to. This is not a position that Boise State fans, Boise State University, should ever be in. And we are here. And the question has to be, where do we go from here? After the Memphis loss, I said it is clear that Andy Avalos is not the man to lead Boise State to a brighter future. The decision-making in the Memphis game, combined with the games leading up to that, but the decision-making in the Memphis game primarily showed a complete failure of approach to handling this football team. The decision to go for the field goal inside the goal and red zone, near the goal line, 4th and 1, when a field goal gives you nothing, showed a fundamental problem with the way that he was coaching this team and approaching this game. The decision, so I called for a coaching change after Memphis. The decision to go with a 2-quarterback system that bred so much instability into the offense and led to one of the worst first halves of football I've ever seen at Boise State before individual player effort, despite the offense, allowed Boise State to come back in the second half. Further emphasized the fact that Boise State that Andy Avalos is not the right pick for Boise State going forward. And this game, which we're going to talk about, is the cherry on top of the cake that has already been made 2 games ago that clearly shows that while Andy Avalos was a tremendous player for Boise State, it'd be great if he could suit back up and get back out there. While he was a great defensive coordinator, while he is someone who will always be beloved by the community for what he has given to Boise State, Not everybody is cut out to be a head coach. It's an unfortunate reality that just because you were a fantastic player, that you're a great defensive coordinator, does not mean that you should be given the reins of the elite group of 5 program. And unfortunately, I think the trailhead has ended for Andy Avalos. I don't know if the university is going to take action right now, but the question has to be made, at what point do you? At this point, you're setting up for 2024. The goals for Boise State, while technically still achievable with Mountain West Championship, seem very, very distant and unrealistic. They still have to play Fresno State, Air Force, and Wyoming. This is not the direction Boise State should be going. And at what point do you say we need to cut our losses and start setting up for next season? I'm going to make another video over the bye week that talks about that in a little bit more depth. But for now, let's get into the game review. So, this is going to be a little bit more macro level. I was working during the game, and I was flying during portion of it. So, I watched the game on replay in between my flights, trying to catch up to live, just skipping ahead to each snap. And then I finally caught up to the game, fourth quarter. We get to 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. We're up 10-30. It's time for me to step to my flight. I go, well, it's all right. We got lucky in this one. We pulled off a win, and not just a win, but a comfortable win, 10-30. Maybe Colorado State scores a touchdown on this drive. Okay, still a 2-score win for Boise State for a game that should have been much further out of hand. Potentially Colorado State winning this early in the first half. But you know what? We pulled it off. We've got to win. I can breathe easy. Go fly. My friend comes in when we land, and he says, hey, are you caught up with the score of the Boise game? And I said, yeah, we won. And he looks at me, and I go, well, I'm caught up to 5 minutes. We're up 10-30. And he says, you should watch the replay. So I get off the plane, watch the last 5 minutes of the game. I cannot believe what we saw happen. We gave up a 17-0 lead in the first half. Fine. We let Colorado State come back into it a little bit. We're up 10-30. When was the last time you saw a team lose 10-30 in the last 5 minutes of the game? There can be no excuses for what happened on that field. Offensively for Boise State, that game should have been lost in the first half. They turned the ball over 3 times. A fumble by Riley Smith and 2 interceptions by both quarterbacks. Interception by Taylor Green and an interception by Maddox Madsen. What do you expect? What do you expect when you are randomly throwing quarterbacks out on the field? The old adage, when you have 2 starting quarterbacks, you don't have one, clearly shown tonight. 5 of 8 for 28 yards and a pick, Taylor Green. 10 of 16 for 110 yards and an interception. No rhythm at all established by either quarterback. Boise State turned the ball over 3 times in the first half, and it was only due to the defense that Boise State was not down 3 scores in that first half. They should have been, but no points off of turnovers. Boise State defense did an incredible job in the first half. At one point, on 4 drives, Colorado State only had 11 yards of offense. Boise State, on the other hand, quarterback game can't do anything. It's a complete mess. There's no consistency with the wide receivers. Neither quarterback can get into rhythm. Luckily for Boise State, Ashton Jeanty, 167 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half, saves the first half for Boise State. Without Ashton Jeanty being who he was, if you take him off of this roster, when he wasn't on the field for Boise State, this team was non-existent. On the game, 212 yards rushing for Ashton Jeanty, 384 yards overall of offense for Boise State. So without Ashton Jeanty, you're looking at only 172 yards of offense total for this team. He was this entire offense, and in the second half, Boise State comes back out in the second half, tries to continue to establish Ashton Jeanty. Colorado State's gotten wise at this point. He still ended up with 212 yards, but he had 167 yards of offense in the first half, so he ended up with about 40-ish or so yards in the second half. Colorado State figured out what they had to do finally to shut Ashton Jeanty down, and this offense went completely off the rails. Boise State they realized the mistakes. Finally, They would have realized it after San Jose State if they'd lost that game. Not that I wanted Boise State to lose that game, but unfortunately, Boise State winning that game, and it was not in any way because of the 2 QB system. It was because Ashton Jeanty took over in the second half, and Taylon Green, despite the offense, was able to establish some personal rhythm with the team, forcing Boise State coaches to keep him out there when they wanted to take him off the field. However, that win for Boise State versus San Jose State incorrectly reinforced in these coaches' minds that the 2 quarterback system worked. And that's what they tried to come out and do in the first half. The failures of the first half and early in the first quarter finally taught them the lesson that should have been, and again, all goes back to the head coach. All goes back to the head coach. How do you not see those failures? How do you not watch the tape and realize that this system does not work? That shows a complete and utter inability to effectively manage this team. To see what happened to the San Jose State team and conclude that the 2 quarterback system is an effective system going forward is a complete failure of analysis by the head coaching staff in that game. Boise State comes out in the second half. They try to run the 2 quarterback system. It doesn't work. Finally, they go to Maddox Madsen. Maybe it's because of the lead and they feel a little more comfortable giving some time, but they at least finally go to Maddox Madsen. But at this point in the game, it's too late. It is too late to come out in the second half when the other team is fighting for their life with everything they can, putting every risking it all, because at this point they have nothing to lose. It is too late at that point to develop a rhythm with your offense as a quarterback. It's too late. So Maddox Madsen not able to come out and develop a rhythm. He definitely seems off kilter. He does it in the drives that he has. He has several drives where he stays out there as quarterback, QB1. Great. Boise State finally going with 1 quarterback, but it's too late at this point. Boise State offensively able to do very, very little in the second half. They were able to put up a few points. They had a couple of nice field goals, some great, really good field goals by Jonah Dalmas, but drive stalling out, not able to put it in for the end zone, except I think they did have one last touchdown in the second half. But the inconsistency is there. Colorado State, on the other hand, they are starting to claw their way back in. The momentum has shifted. The second half, Colorado State comes back out, passing and running, broken plays by Boise State. It's not an easy game for Colorado State. It hasn't been the whole game. Colorado State is not performing at an elite level. We did not see Colorado State versus Colorado for the first half and leading into the beginning of the second half in this game. Colorado State wide receivers were dropping wide open passes in the first half. Colorado State wide receiver Horton had a 3-yard step on the DB. I believe it was Tubner. Had a 3-yard step on the DB, dropped a pass that hit him right in the hands. He didn't have to stretch out. It was right here, and he dropped the pass. That should have been a touchdown. So Boise State the score should have at least been 17-7 at the half, if not more. Boise State, second half, Colorado State's they're not dropping those passes anymore. They're starting to develop their rhythm. Their consistency is coming back. Their incredible tight end, he was dropping wide open passes in the first half too. He's not doing that anymore. Colorado State is starting to develop their rhythm. Boise State does not make the adjustments. San Jose State was a story of adjustments at half that won Boise State the game. Colorado State is a story of adjustments not properly made. Colorado State making adjustments to counter Boise State's defense, Boise State not making adjustments quickly to counter them, and Colorado State gaining momentum to slowly come back into this game. But despite all of that, despite the fact that Boise State had thrown 2 interceptions and a fumble, despite the fact that the offense was in complete shambles aside from Ashton Jeanty, besides the fact that Ashton Jeanty had been shut down in the second half, despite all of that, at 5 minutes to go, 5 and some change, Boise State is still up 30-10. They're going to walk away from this. They're going to walk away from this just fine. It's going to be a 2-score game. It's going to look nice in the stats book. They're going to move to 3-0 in conference play. They're going to be good. It's fine. Boise State's not going to learn any lessons because all they're going to care about is the fact that they won. They're going to repeat all the same mistakes in the next game, but at least they got the win. However, that doesn't happen. I may be wrong on this. And again, I was fast forwarding from snap to snap, so I wasn't hearing the commentary in between. And to be honest, I wasn't really listening to the commentary anyway. It's loud in the airport, so just skipping between the plays, getting to the different plays. I may be wrong on this, but based on what I saw with my eyes and based on what I am reading right now post game, it appears that Boise State put in a game that was not determined. They had only just barely put themselves up 30-10, and Colorado State had momentum coming back. It appears that Boise State put in their second string defense in certain positions. I know I saw our cornerback on a touchdown from Colorado State that I haven't seen on the field this season. So unless there were some injuries, there were second string guys out there. And it appears, again, and if that's the case, Spencer Danielson also to blame in this one. But again, it goes back to the head coaching staff. They're taking their cues from him. He's not fighting to the finish. He doesn't have the right mentality. If Boise State did that, that is yet one more criticism against Andy Avalos in this game. Boise State's, regardless of what ended up happening, Boise State breaks down. They give up too much. 6 plays, 75-yard drive, Colorado State scores. Special teams, which had been great. Boise State had blocked an extra point. It was fantastic. They'd made 2 long field goals. Jonah Dalmas was doing great. James Ferguson Reynolds punting, awesome as always. Boise State had an opportunity to pin Colorado State down to 1 at one point, let a punt roll in. But overall, special teams has played well. Onside kick, they know it's coming. They know Colorado State doesn't really have an option at this point, and the announcers were talking about an onside kick. So they know an onside kick is coming. And yes, it was a great onside kick. But Boise State was not ready. They allowed the onside kick. It hits off of the second line, squirts around, Colorado State recovers. They now go down and score again. This time, takes them a little bit longer. 9 plays, 38 yards, but they score again. And I believe this was the pass that was on one of those backup DBs. So Boise State still has backups in the game at this point. And there'd been some injuries to players in certain positions, and Tubner had been taken out due to double unsportsmanlike penalties that he had suffered, one in the first half and then one there towards the start of the second half. So Tubner had been ejected. So maybe Boise State was having to shift people around. Maybe that's what happened. But regardless, Boise State allows a second touchdown. They then allow an onside kick recovery the second time. So Colorado State attempts a second onside kick, and they allow the recovery. It's ruled illegal touching too early. Boise State is given, I don't think it was illegal touching because they were allowed the re-kick. If it was illegal touching, Boise State was just taking the ball. So there was a penalty that took the ball away from Colorado State. Colorado State had to kick the ball again. This time, I believe it was Ashton Genty, they recover the kick. All right, we're good. We're good. Colorado State has 2 timeouts left. There's 1:38 on the clock. Boise State's just got to run the ball down, get a first down, and this game is over. Boise State comes out. Again, there's no rhythm. There's no consistency. They attempt to get a first down with Taylor Green coming out there, and he gets the first down. There's a holding call, and when there was so many fouls in this game on both teams, but Boise State had a ton of penalties, holding calls that were unnecessary, false starts, and you again have to believe that the fact that it's a simple accepted fact in college football that inconsistent quarterback play breeds inconsistency everywhere. If the quarterback position has no stability, the rest of the team will have no stability. So while there could be other reasons these holding calls are happening, the fact that the 2 QB system is occurring is not helping the situation. Boise State, Taylor Green has a great run, one of his best runs of the season, honestly. Holding call, pulled back. Boise State tries to has to play it short. I believe it was Tyler Crow. Play it short. They have to punt the ball away. They punt it down to the 10-yard line. Colorado State, in 5 plays, goes 88 yards, which included a couple of wide open passes to receivers against that Boise State secondary that has been an issue all season long. And on a Hail Mary attempt with less than 7 seconds left on the clock, they throw a Hail Mary pass that gets batted down correctly. And this is where the randomness happens, because this is one of the craziest endings I've ever seen in a college football game. And part of college football is that craziness can happen at any time. And so part of this loss isn't on anybody. It's just that it happened. That Hail Mary pass is a crazy pass. It was about a 45-ish yard throw Boise State bats it down. A Colorado State wide receiver that is sprinting full speed and diving happens to have the ball go directly to where he's already going to, and right in his hands is able to catch it. It was a perfect bat down. It's exactly how you coach it defensively, like you're spiking a volleyball, 2 hands up, cup down, trying to bat it into the ground, not trying to catch it or tip it, just batting it down, and it was caught. It's one of those miraculous moments in college football. So that can't be blamed on anybody. I don't blame the secondary for that opportunity. I do blame them for being that close to make that throw. For only a 40, they were at like the 38, 40-yard line when they made that pass. But it's one of those madness moments. But Boise State should have lost this game in the first half. It shouldn't have been a 1-point win for Colorado State. It should have been a much larger win. Boise State's defense playing well enough in the first half to prevent that from happening. But the lesson of this game, the lesson that Boise State should take away from this game, because you cannot guarantee that Ashton Jeanty is going to do what he did. He was incredible. Despite Colorado State clearly trying to stop him in the first half, he just kept on going. You take Ashton Jeanty out of this game, there is no offense for Boise State. Almost zero offense in this game for Boise State. The lesson of this game for Boise State is that the system that Boise State is running does not work. They have a bye week. Decisions are going to have to be made. Probably by the athletic administration. And if that decision is we're going to keep things as they are for now, that's still a decision. But things are going to be considered. Because right now, Boise State is on the precipice. They've been moving towards that precipice since the Memphis game, when I said that Boise State needed to was going to be in a place to have to make a decision, and that I was calling it at this point that Andy Avalos was not the future of this team. But they have now moved to the point where I don't know if any of you grew up watching Between the Lions, but the cliffhanger character, cliffhanger, and he's hanging off the edge. That's where Boise State is right now. They are hanging on the edge of a massive chasm. And I don't know how they climb out of it if they fall in. You go 4-7, 5-7, 4-8 with this team, unless you miraculously convince all the players on the roster to stay, you miraculously convince all the fans to continue to buy in, and you somehow miraculously, with the coaching staff you have, which has proven the inability to make the changes. The second season for Boise State was not Andy Avalos, that was Dirk Cutter. Dirk Cutter got Boise State 10 wins. Andy Avalos has gotten Boise State 7-5, was leading them towards a 7-5 or worse season in their second year. Dirk Cutter stepped in, he saved Boise State, and now this season Andy Avalos has Boise State on the brink of a 4-8 or 7-5 season. And I don't want to be this negative. I don't. But I have to analyze the facts that are in front of us. And the facts that are in front of us are not pretty ones to look at or to talk about. Boise State is on the brink. Their offensive performance in this one, Ashton Jeanty gives this team a C+. His performance is an A+. Everyone else is a solid F. He gets the team a C+. The defensive performance in this one, strong in the first half, but they lost this game because of the defense. They did. Now, the defense made this game a game. They should have lost this game by a lot more than they did. They should have lost this game in the first half. The defense prevented Boise State from losing this game in the first half. And while they're going to be blamed for this loss, because back-to-back drives where the offense was not on the field, and then a Hail Mary pass after an out by the offense, the defense is going to be looked at as the culprit. But they're not the primary culprit. The primary culprit is the offense by Boise State that allowed them to be in this situation in the first place. The game should not even have been this close for Colorado State to have that opportunity to come back. It shouldn't have been. Boise State's offense cost Boise State the game in this one. The defense was simply the last man on the field when the clock ticked down. So defense overall, this performance, 401 yards, 359 yards passing, 42 rushes. They allowed 3 straight scores in the second half. They're going to be getting a C+ as well. But the loss on this game is not because of the defense. Special teams gave up a onside kick, and they would have given up another one if not for a penalty. So special teams performance on this one, B- because of the fantastic play by Joe Damas and James Ferguson Reynolds, despite the fact that they were also part of this loss. But this is a total team loss. It's a total team loss. Loss on offense, loss on defense, loss on special teams. But the root of this problem, the reason that Boise State lost this game, when you look at the fundamental problem, is the 2-quarterback system, which was Andy Avalos' decision. So Andy Avalos lost this game for Boise State. Boise State, just to wrap up here, my keys to the game, how Boise State handled those. Stop the madness? No. The madness has not stopped. They started moving away from the madness in the second half. By that point, it was too late. So F on that. Shift focus from the wide receivers. They actually did. They had 9 passes to running backs or tight ends, 5 running backs or tight ends caught passes. So they were clearly trying to shift the focus. But when there's that much instability in the quarterback position, it doesn't matter. So A, effort on that, and then forced turnovers. Boise State did manage to get an interception there. They did manage to actually get an interception in this game. It was a great pick. But this is also a Colorado State team that gave up more opportunities in the past for turnovers than Boise State was able to do. I'm going to give them an A for that. They're part of that great defensive effort early on. But to wrap up on this one, this is not the team to go 4-8 or 5-7. Yes, it's not every single guy on this roster is Andy Avalos' guys. Yes, he's had offensive coordinator turnover. Yes, it's only his 3rd year. But the 3rd season is the prove-it year. The first season, okay, if you get lucky, like Brian Harsin, and get to a Fiesta Bowl, that's great. But nobody expects you to do that. I was not worried after the 7-5 start. The second year, you're starting to develop, and a lot happened in that year to be weird, but you got to 10 wins. That's great. The 3rd year, that's the prove-it year. Boise State didn't have to get to a Fiesta Bowl this year. That wouldn't have been the prove-it. But they needed to at least be competitive for the Mountain West Championship game. They needed to at least win 1 out of the 3 major non-conference games that they had, which they were absolutely within their ability to do. And they needed to be in the running for the Mountain West with at least a 9-10 win look season. That's what they needed this year. But they are headed towards 4-8 and 5-7. I don't know how you come back from that. Next year is the first year of the playoff slot for the group of 5. College football is going to completely change next season. Boise State 2023 was supposed to be a setup for 2024. Well, Boise State right now is setting themselves up 10 feet under, that they're going to have to climb out of this hole to establish themselves in 2024. And at a certain point, you have to take away the shovel from the person that's digging you into the hole and say, we've got to start building for the future. We've got to start moving in the right direction. It's been 3 years of inconsistency and not moving forward. Boise State has got to make a decision at this point where that decision can be made, that a change needs to be made without making the change this week. I'm not predicting that Andy Avalos is going to be fired over the bye week. But I think that candidates are going to start being looked at. And by the end of the season, you could see Boise State moving in a different direction. And it's unfortunate that Boise State's had to come to this point. But sometimes you have to hit absolute rock bottom before you acknowledge there's a problem and move towards a better future. And Boise State is headed for rock bottom right now. This bye week could not come at a better time. It's going to suck because now we have to live with this feeling for a whole 2 weeks before we get to see some Boise State football again. Hopefully Boise State can get back on the horse and get that win. So it sucks that we have to live with this right now. But if there is any hope in the future right now of Boise State, first off, Andy Avalos, if he gets to keep his job, he's got to go undefeated. He's got to go undefeated the rest of the way out here. I mean, I absolutely believe that if he wants to have stability in his job, he's got to go undefeated. He has to at least get us to bowl eligibility, and that task is insurmountable right now with the teams that Boise State has ahead of them. If they come out, I think right now that there's clear proof that we need a new head coach. If they come out after the bye week and we are still seeing these same problems, I think the game after the bye week, if Boise State loses that game and these same problems are still evident, there will be a new head coach in Boise State or an interim head coach after that game. So this is the moment for them. They're going to the bye week. I'm going to have a couple videos coming out of the bye week talking about the future of this team, this program, what we've seen so far. But this bye week is the most important bye week in Boise State history. And I am not being overdramatic in stating that. This is the moment where Boise State has to make a choice about the team that they're going to be. This coaching staff, while they have their jobs, has to decide what they're going to do to correct for the future and see if they still can. And this athletic administration has got to start looking seriously at what the future of this program means and what the head coach of that program is going to, who the head coach of that program is going to be. I am incredibly concerned about the direction of this team, and I truly pray and hope that decisions will be made that move this team towards a better future. So thank you so much for watching this video. It was a lot of negatives, and I really, really hope Boise State starts giving us positives to look at. You know, there were positives out of this one. Ashton Jeanty was fantastic. I've mentioned other positives that probably got buried underneath the negatives, the defense, the first half, the special teams. But we're at a point right now where the negatives are what is being presented. And until those negatives change, I'm going to keep talking about them. I'm going to keep being honest about them. And I'm going to keep presenting at least my opinion. But I'm going to give you my honest opinion on what I think the future of this program needs to be and what we need to do to get to that future. As a fan first, as an analyst second. But Boise State needs to make some decisions. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Great content coming out over the bye week. I'm excited to make those videos, so make sure you keep an eye out for them. Hopefully, we can start looking towards a better future in some of those. But thank you so much for watching this video. I'll have a mid-season review / preview of the future coming out, and I'll also have a second surprise video that I'm going to be working on. So thanks so much for watching this video. I've said that like 4 times now. I just hate leaving it on such a negative note, but there's really no other way to leave it. So like and subscribe, and as always, win or lose, no matter what happens with this team, no matter who's coaching it, no matter who's playing for them, no matter what the win-loss record is, win or lose, go!